two deadly earthquakes in Venezuela, the strongest heat wave in Europe's history, a powerful EF3 tornado in the Ural region of Russia. All the details of these and other events are coming up next in the broadcast. Europe. By the end of June, a powerful heat dome had formed over much of Western and Central Europe. This heat wave became the strongest in Europe's recorded history. In many countries, the deviation from the climatic norm ranged from 5 to 15 degrees Celsius, and in some places the temperature rose above 40 degrees Celsius. Several countries recorded new national records for maximum June temperatures, while some regions set new all-time highs for the entire period of observation. Meteorologists described this heat wave as an event of extraordinary scale because of the thousands of temperature records that were set. Unfortunately, since June 21st, the wave of abnormal heat has caused more than 1,300 deaths in Europe, and some medical facilities struggled to cope with the surge in patients. In many countries, cultural landmarks were closed, and schools suspended operations because of the heat. France was one of the hardest-hit countries. Since June 23rd, dozens of cities have recorded new all-time temperature records, and in the Landes department, temperatures exceeded 44 degrees Celsius. Because of the abnormal heat, people flocked en masse to rivers and lakes, including places not suitable for swimming, which led to numerous tragedies on the water. In Paris, amid the high temperatures, a temporary ban was introduced on drinking alcohol in public places. Agriculture in France was also affected. Milk production noticeably declined because of heat stress in animals, and in western regions, where poultry farming is concentrated, up to 10,000 birds died on farms in just one night. On June 25th, a rare phenomenon was observed in the Morbihan department, a heat burst. It occurs when a thunderstorm weakens, and a downdraft pushes warm, dry air from the middle layers of the atmosphere down to the ground, causing a sharp local rise in temperature, a drop in humidity, and stronger gusty winds. For example, at the Belle-Île station, the temperature rose by 7 degrees Celsius in just 18 minutes, while the wind intensified from complete calm to gusts of up to 100 kilometers per hour. The heat also affected nuclear power generation. The water in rivers became too warm to cool reactors effectively, causing some power units in the country to be temporarily shut down. A similar situation developed in Switzerland and Hungary. In the United Kingdom, for the first time in history, a red warning level for extreme heat remained in effect for 3 consecutive days. During these days, the June maximum temperature record was broken 3 times, reaching 37.7 degrees Celsius on June 26th. Because of the intense heat, organizers were forced to cancel a conference dedicated to addressing the consequences of extreme temperatures. Across the United Kingdom, medical facilities had to postpone scheduled surgeries and partially cancel outpatient appointments because of the extremely high temperatures. Due to overheating, cooling systems failed in several clinics, and MRI machines stopped working. On June 27th, the temperature in Berlin reached 39 degrees Celsius. To help people cool down, police deployed water cannons. Even the nights were unprecedentedly hot. On June 28th, the minimum temperature at the Kubschutz weather station was 29.4 degrees Celsius. It was the hottest night ever recorded north of the 50th parallel. Such conditions do not allow the human body to recover after the daytime heat, which has a negative impact on health. Previously, such intense heat was rare in Europe, so air conditioners have still not become widespread here. For example, in Germany, only about 6% of households are equipped with them. In the city of Dormagen, the air inside a nursing home heated up to a dangerous 35 degrees Celsius, forcing dozens of elderly people to be evacuated. The heat also disrupted transportation. German railway operator Deutsche Bahn temporarily allowed passengers to cancel long-distance trips free of charge, while the private carrier National Express suspended some services in the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia because of the risk of rail deformation due to overheating. The heat also damaged road infrastructure. Near Hamburg, the asphalt softened and cracked, while on the A2 highway near Berlin, the concrete pavement burst because of overheating. Traffic was partially restricted. In Denmark on June 27th, north of the city of Aarhus, the air temperature reached 37 degrees Celsius, setting an all-time temperature record for the region. In a country where June is usually a mild northern summer with an average maximum temperature of about 19 degrees Celsius, such intense heat is considered an extremely abnormal phenomenon. For the first time in the history of the Netherlands, authorities declared a red alert level because of the heat. In Italy, the shallowing of the Po River weakened the natural freshwater barrier that prevents seawater from entering the river mouth. As a result, salt water spread about 18 kilometers upstream, putting agriculture and protected wetlands at risk. Japan. A powerful magnitude 7.2 earthquake occurred off the coast of Iwate Prefecture on June 25th at 7:30 local time during the morning rush hour. The tremors were felt across a wide area, affecting not only the Tohoku region, but also the capital, Tokyo. They were accompanied by prolonged ground shaking. No tsunami warning was issued. Over the following 3.5 hours, at least 8 aftershocks with magnitudes ranging from 2.9 to 4.0 were recorded. The disaster hit Aomori Prefecture the hardest. In the city of Hashikami, the earthquake intensity reached 6 upper on the seismic intensity scale of the Japan Meteorological Agency. In 2 prefectures, Aomori and Iwate, 12 people were injured. Among them was a 90-year-old resident of the city of Kamaishi in Iwate Prefecture who fell during the earthquake and suffered a broken arm. In Hachinohe, Aomori Prefecture, a teenage girl who was riding a bicycle at the moment of the tremor lost control and was hit by a car. As a result of the earthquake, hundreds of infrastructure facilities were damaged. In Aomori Prefecture, more than 360 buildings were affected, while in Iwate, 17 structures were damaged, including schools and social welfare facilities. In the city of Hachinohe, an elevator stopped and a person had to be evacuated from it. In supermarkets, goods fell from shelves on a large scale and floors were covered with shards of glass containers. At Kannonji Temple, memorial tablets fell. In a nursing home, windows shattered because of the tremors, and cracks that appeared in the walls made the building unfit for people to stay in. The disaster also damaged facilities belonging to the football club, Vanraure Hachinohe. Walls partially collapsed in the office and on the futsal court. Deep cracks were also recorded at the Choju Onsen thermal complex. On the evening of June 26th, another earthquake with a magnitude of 5.6 occurred in the eastern part of Yamanashi Prefecture. Despite its lower magnitude, the maximum intensity in the city of Fujikawaguchiko reached level 6 lower. This was because the earthquake focus was located on land and at a shallower depth, allowing the shaking to reach the surface with less energy loss. In Yamanashi Prefecture, this was the first earthquake of such strength since 1924. As a result of the disaster, 15 people were injured. The seismic event caused significant destruction. In Kofu, the exterior wall of a building partially collapsed. In Fuji-Yoshida, roadside signs fell and concrete walls collapsed. And in one hotel in the city of Fujikawaguchiko, elevators stopped working after the earthquake. At the ancient Shinto shrine Kitaguchi Hongu Fuji Sengen, which has more than 1,900 years of history and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, 11 stone lanterns about 3 centuries old were damaged. In Shizuoka Prefecture, numerous rockfalls, landslides, and fallen trees were observed, and roof tiles also fell from buildings, damaging parked cars. In the town of Oyama, a slope collapsed behind one of the houses. The collapsed section was about 20 meters high and about 5 meters wide. To prevent further landslides amid heavy rains associated with an approaching typhoon, urgent measures were taken to reinforce the soil. Russia. On June 22nd, a tornado struck the city of Kushva in Russia's Sverdlovsk region, becoming one of the most powerful tornadoes recorded in the Ural region in recent decades. Based on the scale of destruction, the tornado was classified as an EF3 on the international Fuji scale. According to meteorologists, such vortices are usually rare in the Ural region and typically pass through uninhabited forest areas. This time, however, the tornado crossed the city, leaving behind a trail of destruction about 2.5 kilometers long. According to eyewitness accounts, the tornado was accompanied by a deafening roar and hail the size of quail eggs. The vortex tore roofs off buildings and lifted sheets of roofing, construction debris, and trash into the air. In just 10 minutes, the vortex left behind widespread destruction. More than 100 residential buildings, cars, power lines, and public utility infrastructure were damaged. Fences, greenhouses, and outbuildings were destroyed, and many trees were uprooted. On some streets, the tornado almost completely destroyed private houses, leaving only their walls standing. Multi-story buildings were also seriously damaged. The tornado ripped off roofs and damaged balconies. The disaster left more than 4,000 private homes in Kushva and nearby settlements without electricity. In addition, the water supply was disrupted, and damage to gas pipelines led to gas shutoffs in some areas. 21 people sought medical assistance after the tornado. Most suffered cuts and bruises from flying debris and glass, and several injured people were taken to the hospital. Power outages caused an emergency situation at the Yuzhnaya mine. After the lifting equipment stopped, 16 miners were trapped underground. The miners were only brought back to the surface at around 4 o'clock in the morning the following day, after the power supply had been restored. The next day, the situation was further complicated by heavy downpours. In Kushva, water flooded living spaces in homes that had remained without roofs after the tornado. Venezuela. On June 24th, Venezuela faced one of the most severe seismic episodes of the past 125 years. In the northern part of the country, where densely populated areas, transport hubs, port infrastructure, and the capital, the city of Caracas, are located, two powerful earthquakes occurred less than 1 minute apart, with magnitudes of 7.2 and 7.5. La Guaira state suffered the greatest damage, and authorities declared it a disaster zone. In their reports, local media described a severe situation. People gathered near destroyed buildings, unable to contact their loved ones, and not knowing what had happened to them. According to eyewitnesses, people remained under the rubble, and it was impossible to move concrete slabs without special equipment. People heard the voices of those trapped and, in the first hours, cleared the rubble themselves with their hands, ropes, and improvised tools, as rescue services were unable to reach all destroyed sites at the same time. The capital, Caracas, was also among the affected areas. Destruction was not widespread, but in several zones it was extremely serious. Rescue operations were hampered by a shortage of equipment for cutting concrete and metal, as well as basic supplies such as helmets, water, food, and other necessary items. The situation was complicated by the fact that the earthquakes occurred on a public holiday, leaving both local residents and visitors in the destruction zone. According to official data, as of July 1st, the death toll had reached 1,943 people, and more than 10,500 people were injured. Medical facilities worked around the clock. In the capital region, not only public hospitals but also private clinics were involved in receiving the injured. Large public facilities began to be used as temporary shelters for people. In La Guaira, a temporary shelter and medical aid point were set up at one of the stadiums. People who were afraid to return to damaged buildings because of cracks and aftershocks remained in open areas, parks, and temporary camps for several days. After the main shocks, seismic activity continued. By midday on June 27th, authorities had recorded 430 aftershocks. At least 383 buildings were destroyed or seriously damaged as a result of the earthquakes, and more than 1,400 infrastructure facilities across the country were affected, including 13 hospitals and 25 shopping centers. Simón Bolívar International Airport in the city of Maiquetía also sustained serious damage. According to an expert, the scale of the consequences cannot be explained by earthquake magnitude alone. The professor noted that if earthquake-resistant standards had been followed, buildings should not have collapsed like houses of cards. Among the possible causes, he pointed to the quality of concrete, a reduction in the amount of steel, insufficient transverse reinforcement of columns, and other violations of construction standards.
Los equipos de rescate continúan trabajando arduamente, pero como pueden observar, la cantidad.
This comment is important because it allows the issue of consequences to be considered not only in terms of a natural disaster, but also in terms of the vulnerability of urban development, the enforcement of building codes, and the quality of structures. The events of this week demonstrate that current safety standards no longer always correspond to the level of real natural risks. When buildings collapse, hospitals stop functioning because of heat, rails deform from overheating, and wind disrupts power grids. It is worth thinking not only about the force of the disaster, but also about the quality of preparation for it. Amid increasing natural risks, it is especially important to strictly comply with existing standards and to revise construction, sanitary, transport, and energy standards, ensuring that homes and infrastructure are resilient to such loads. Danger arises not only during the impact of a natural disaster, but also when potential climate risks have not been anticipated in advance, and safety standards exist only on paper.
Probablement et dès ce week-end. Ces habitants de Poitiers.
Yabai! 風呂で地震はやばい！めっちゃ揺れてる！
地震です。地震です。
In late June, two strong seismic events occurred in Japan, causing damage and noticeable consequences. The first earthquake, with a magnitude of 7.2, occurred on June 25th at 7:30 in the morning local time, during the morning rush hour. The epicenter was located off the coast of Iwate Prefecture, about 19 miles from the city of Fuji, and the focus lay at a depth of about 31 miles. The tremors were accompanied by prolonged ground shaking and were felt across a large area. Seismic waves reached not only the Tohoku region, but also the capital, Tokyo. No tsunami threat was generated after this earthquake. The strongest shaking was recorded in Aomori Prefecture. In the town of Hashikami, the intensity reached level 6+ on the Japan Meteorological Agency scale. This scale describes the strength of ground motion at a specific location, so the maximum intensity may be recorded not strictly near the epicenter, but in the place where the combination of distance, focal depth, and geological conditions amplifies the impact of seismic waves. The main event was followed by a series of aftershocks. Within 3.5 hours, at least 8 aftershocks were recorded, with magnitudes ranging from 2.9 to 4.0. The consequences of the earthquake affected two prefectures, Aomori and Iwate. In Aomori, more than 360 buildings were damaged. In Iwate, 17 structures were damaged, including schools and social welfare facilities. In Hachinaha, an elevator stopped in one of the buildings, and a person had to be rescued from it. In supermarkets, thousands of items fell from the shelves, and the floors were covered with shards of broken glass containers. Damage was also recorded at public facilities. At Kananji Temple, memorial tablets collapsed. In a nursing home, windows were shattered by the tremors, and cracks that appeared in the walls made the building unsafe for people to remain inside. Facilities belonging to the Vanroor Hachina Football Club were also affected. Walls partially collapsed in the office and on the futsal court. Deep cracks appeared at the Choju Onsen Thermal Complex. In total, 12 people were injured. In the city of Kamaishi, Iwate Prefecture, a 90-year-old woman fell during the tremors and broke her arm. In Hachinaha, Aomori Prefecture, a teenage girl was riding a bicycle, lost control during the shaking, and was hit by a car. By the evening of the next day, June 26th, at 10:29 in the evening local time, another strong earthquake occurred, this time in the eastern part of Yamanashi Prefecture, in the Fuji Five Lakes area. Its magnitude was 5.6, and the focus was located at a depth of about 12 miles. Despite its smaller magnitude compared with the event off the coast of Iwate, this earthquake also caused strong shaking at the surface. In the town of Fujikawa-Guchiko, the maximum intensity reached level 6- on the Japan Meteorological Agency scale. This was related to the shallower depth of the focus and its location beneath land. At a smaller depth, seismic waves travel a shorter distance to the surface and can cause sharp local shaking. According to the Fire and Disaster Management Agency, 15 people were injured. For Yamanashi Prefecture, this event was especially significant. An earthquake of this strength had been recorded here for the first time since 1924. Damage was reported in several communities. In the city of Kafu, part of the exterior wall of a building collapsed. In Fuji Yoshida, concrete walls and roadside signs were damaged. At one hotel in the town of Fujikawa-Guchiko, elevators stopped working after the earthquake.
He says the quake struck shortly before his train reached Shin-Yokohama Station.
One of the region's most important historical and religious sites, the Kitaguchi Hongo Fuji Sengen Shinto Shrine, was also damaged. Its history goes back more than 1,900 years, and the complex itself is part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. As a result of the tremors, 11 stone lanterns about 3 centuries old were damaged. The consequences were also felt in neighboring Shizuoka Prefecture. Numerous rockfalls, landslides, and fallen trees were recorded there. Roof tiles fell from buildings, damaging parked cars. In the town of Oyama, a slope about 66 feet high and about 16 feet wide collapsed behind one of the houses. The situation was complicated by heavy rains associated with an approaching typhoon, so specialists carried out emergency work to reinforce the slope in order to reduce the risk of another ground collapse. As climate and geodynamic processes continue to change, understanding local risks can be useful for everyday safety. Today, it is increasingly important to know the specific features of one's own area, which threats are most likely there, where vulnerable zones are located, how the warning system works, and what to do in the first minutes of a dangerous situation. This kind of awareness helps people avoid panic and act faster, more calmly, and more safely.
Дома не осталось практически.
Сильно пострадал ваш дом?
Нет дома.
In Russia's Sverdlovsk region, the city of Kushva was struck by a tornado that is rare for the Ural region. On June 22nd, a powerful vortex moved not through a forested area, as more often happens in the region, but directly through the city's built-up areas. That is why the consequences were extremely severe. The damage path stretched for about 1.5 miles. According to specialists, based on the nature of the damage, the tornado was classified as EF3 on the international Fuji scale. For the Ural region, this was one of the strongest events of its kind in recent decades.
Дома нету слова совсем.
Eyewitnesses recalled that just before the impact of the storm, a loud roar could be heard. Along with the vortex, hail the size of quail eggs struck the city. The wind tore roofs off houses and lifted sheets of metal, pieces of building structures, branches, glass, and debris into the air.
Машина просто вот там под деревом лежит. Просто под деревом. И там провода все оголенные. Я даже подойти туда не могу. Провода висят. Все еще все бушует. Машину я просто нашу не вижу даже.
Живые все, да. Иди забирай, вон через окошко забирай. Все живое, все нормально.
The destruction in the private residential sector was especially severe. According to the Ministry of Emergency Situations, 32 private houses were completely destroyed, and another 99 sustained varying degrees of damage. On some streets, virtually only the walls of houses remained. Fences, greenhouses, and outbuildings were destroyed, vehicles were damaged, and many trees were uprooted.
Вот оно, последствие смерча, который лежит на центральной улице города Кушва. Эту часть крыши сорвало с дома напротив, вот до него 100 метров. Представляете, с какой скоростью это деревянное строение летело сюда, пока не рухнуло на асфальт.
Multi-story buildings were also hit. The tornado tore off their roofs and damaged balconies and facades. In just a few minutes, the city suffered extensive damage to its housing stock, power lines, and municipal infrastructure.
Вот машина.
Димон! Второй дом. Вон сосед мне, Карифан, Серега, вообще дома нету. Просто жесть.
After the tornado passed, more than 4,000 private homes in Kushvar itself and in neighboring communities were left without electricity. Water supply disruptions occurred, and in some areas, gas service had to be temporarily shut off because of damage to gas pipelines.
Там даже дерево, елки летают. Посмотрите, крыши летают.
21 people sought medical assistance after the storm. Most of them suffered cuts, bruises, and injuries from shards of glass and flying debris. Several people were hospitalized.
Практически без дверей. У людей ущерб на миллионы.
The power outage also led to an emergency situation at the southern mine. Because the lifting equipment stopped working, 16 miners were trapped underground. They were brought to the surface only at around 4 o'clock in the morning the next day, after the power supply had been restored. But the ordeal for the residents of Kushva did not end there. The very next day after the tornado, heavy downpours hit the city. Water began flooding living spaces and homes that had been left without roofs after the vortex, worsening the damage from the disaster that had already occurred.
Максим, отключили, походу, смотри, какой ветер.
This example clearly shows that amid the planet's changing climatic and geodynamic situation, it is important to understand the nature of different hazardous phenomena, even those that previously seemed completely unusual for a particular region. The residents of Kushva could hardly have expected to face a tornado of such strength. Yet reality shows that such events are already occurring in places where neither the infrastructure nor the people themselves were prepared for them. And the less society knows about how to recognize such a threat and how to act correctly, the higher the risk of severe consequences.